week, we've been talking about this kind of federal takeover, so to speak, supporting the D.C. police force. The Trump administration, of course, has been talking a lot more now about Chicago. So I want to show you something. The U.S. Navy base near Chicago, where federal forces could launch this new immigration operation in the city. CNN has learned it could happen by the end of next week. The city has long been a target for top Trump administration officials.
Chicago still has a crime problem. So President Trump, again, made a promise to American people, we'll make this country safe again. So Chicago has a crime problem. That's why President Trump's thinking about it.
All right, so if the president is looking for another state to send National Guard, California Governor Gavin Newsom has some ideas.
Just look at the murder rate. That's nearly 4 times higher than California's in Louisiana. As Speaker Johnson, perhaps the president could deploy the National Guard in every corner of Mississippi. It's the murder rate's out of control there. Carnage. We can talk about the carnage in Arkansas, again, one of the top 10 murder states in America. 2.6 times greater than San Francisco. Again, these are just not just observations, they're stone cold facts.
They're not just observations, they're printouts. So obviously this is something that they're going to be leaning into. And just for a few facts, we have got the violent crime stats for 2024. You can see for yourself some of the cities on that list: Memphis, Detroit, Baltimore, which people have talked about, but also Cleveland and Kansas City. What's interesting to me is there are places that are sending their National Guard to D.C. Couldn't they just keep their National Guard where it is and do this whole exercise themselves?
Well, I think the American people understand that crime, and Donald Trump has tapped into this in recent weeks, is a life and death issue for
But the
many
dynamic of being like red state,
Sure.
National Guard here, blue state, like civilian population, like there's something about it that feels like it's creating unnecessarily a divisive feeling.
Well, Gavin Newsom, good example of this. You didn't play the clip, buddy, but he also announced yesterday that he's surging in areas of California where he needs to address a crime problem. So as we've seen Gavin Newsom copy President Trump in terms of his messaging and style on Truth Social, he's also mimicking some of the policies, because I think if you're a political leader right now and crime is perceived as a problem in big cities, yes, you need to respond to those challenges.
The difference is, Rob, I don't think anyone is anti-fighting or dealing with crime.
Then why haven't they done it?
I think the difference is this president wants to put color on crime. He wants to politicize crime, i.e. picking at or nagging at cities that have high African-American populations or with African-American mayors. Because when in times of crisis, as Donald Trump is with his poll numbers and his base, he tends to lean on certain things: race, crime, public safety, immigration, and patriotism. That's been his pattern, practice, and history as an elected official, i.e. President of the United States. So here he is going back to his comfort zone. If Trump cared really about crime in D.C., why not meet with the mayor or other mayors around the country, come up with a solution like President Biden did with the Safer in Communities Act, which is why violent crimes are coming down in cities. But he did not do that. He did not even consult the mayor about his plan.
Let me jump in here, Antoine. We have heard Mayor Bowser say, look, this is working. I've talked to Trump. In recent days, she has spoken differently and made it sound sort of more collaborative. I'm also interested in, Francesca, in bringing you in, because you actually got to ask Vance a question I've wanted to know. When does this end? What's the benchmark for when it ends?
And he said that they wouldn't be there indefinitely, not just in Washington, D.C., because I started by asking about Chicago and Baltimore and other cities, that their plan to fight crime isn't necessarily to send in the National Guard indefinitely. But he said that part of this is political, because they're being accused of fascism and other things, that it works better if the cities want them to come in. But as you're pointing out, we've heard these cities and states say they don't want the administration to send in the National Guard. So it was an interesting answer.
So they were hearing the criticism, is what I hear in general, that concern about being seen as fascist.
Yes, but I also want to point out that of the list that you put up there, I actually spoke to several of those mayors too recently, and I think that they welcome federal help if it's the kind of federal help in areas that they feel that they need help with.
There's always a catch. There's always a catch.
fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.